Hi, Alina here. Today I want to talk to you a little bit about this small cutting mat from Olfa. The first die cutting machine that I bought for myself was a Big Shot from Sizzix, and whoever has a Big Shot, they know the machine comes with 4 plates, 2 cutting plates. Now these are 7 years old as the machine. Believe it or not, I did not replace them. They're well loved. You know, they almost have a new texture. It's like I cut so much on it, then they're fuzzy. They're not the way they used to be. So you have 2 cutting mats. You have an embossing mat that's fairly thick. And you have an embossing pad that goes on top of your die. Now another die cutting machine that I use almost exclusively is the Gemini by Crafter's Companion. So I use the junior plates into my big Gemini, and that's what I use most of the time. I would say 99% of the time. You get 2 clear plates. These are like die cutting plates. You get a plastic shim. Now here's the embossing mat. Unlike the Big Shot, this is much thinner, so it's very easy to cut and rip and tear through. It also comes with a magnetic shim and this metal cutting mat. But one thing that really concerns me with this mat is it's very sharp. So if you're in a hurry and you grab this plate the wrong way, you can cut your fingers, you can cut your hand. So from the Gemini, I use these 3 plates consistently. These are the most used plates. As you see, they're warped, and the die doesn't cut. The dies don't cut as well as they used to because the pressure is not even. So this is when I started looking on YouTube, and I came across like this little mat that I would say kind of save my plates and breathe new life into my actual existing plates. So because this one buckled, the cutting is not as good as it used to be. But what I noticed, this is my Big Shot plate. This is my Gemini plate. If you put them side by side, they're almost the same thickness. This one is very nasty, but at least it's straight. So I can do cutting much better with this one than I could do with this one. So I put this on the side. I don't use this anymore. So I use this instead. I use this, and I use this. But because the Gemini has so much pressure, in time, this is going to end up just like the other plate. So that's when this little guy came in handy. And as you see, I have 2 of this I use. This is brand new. So again, you know, like I said, I went on YouTube and somebody was using this mat, and I said, I'm going to give it a try. So what I realized is that this little mat right here is the same thickness as this mat. I was thinking to myself, if they have the same width, then, you know, I can just put that away. I can put this in, cut into that, and put this plate on, and it should work perfectly. And this is what I'm going to try to do to show you how I do my die cutting now. Now I got my machine here ready to go. I got some cardstock. This is the 65 pounds, just regular cardstock. I'm going to use a few dies. This is from Crafter's Companion. It's very intricate, so we'll see how that cuts. Also, I'm going to try with Spellbinders because I have a lot of dies from Spellbinders, and I'm also going to try Tonic Studio because this is really a company where this is how I got started with the die cutting, and I have a lot of dies from them. So if there's 3 companies they cut, then I am. Now let's start die cutting. So let's say I saw somebody on YouTube, they used this glue plate, this cutting mat, a piece of regular cardstock, 65 pounds, a die, and then this plate on top, and just put it through. Let's see how this works for me. So I put it through. I lift it up, and it didn't do anything, just barely touched the surface. There's like a little scratching. I don't know if you can see it or not. So it didn't cut, okay? So I know I need the extra shim. So I'm going to put this back on, and I'm going to go with 1 shim, put it on, and put it through. Now I can hear the Gemini working a little harder, so I still don't think it cut through the whole thing, but I can see some cutting. Okay, so some cutting happened. I'm going to do the extra shim. So this is my first shim. This is the second one. I'm going to put my plate on, and I'm going to turn it this way, see what happens. Just going to put it through. Okay, it cuts all the way through the whole thing. So gently remove it. Beautiful cutting. So I know now for me, my machine It's like one clear plate, this mat, my paper, my die, 2 shims, and this clear plate on top. So I put it through, I know it's going to cut perfectly. Now what happens if I try to put this on? That'll probably be too much pressure. So look, I put this on top and I try to fit it in and it's just not going. So I'm not going to force it in, I'm just going to take it out and I'm going to stick with my 2 shims, okay? So I'm not going to force it, I don't want to break the machine. So this is the die cut from Crafter's Companion. Let's see the Spellbinders. I'm going to do again the same. Clear plate, cutting, mat, cardstock, die. The dieing, you know, goes face down. I'm going to stick with my 2 shims. Put it on. Put the clear plate on top. And send it to my machine. See what happens. Perfect cut. So my machine is telling me I need 2 shims to get the job done. So that's the Spellbinders die. And then let me try the tonic. I have this awesome sentiment called Celebrate. So I have clear plate, cutting mat, sentiment, 2 shims, 1, 2, and my cutting mat on top. Send it through. You can hear the machine working hard, so that's another sign it's going to cut. Perfect cut. So now let's see the big shot. Okay, so I have the cutting plate. For the big shot, you have the cutting plate, you have the paper, you have the die, and you have the clear plate on top. So let's just do, this is the way the machine works. So these are the instructions on how to cut with the big shot. So let me just roll it. It goes now. Look what happened here. It cut straight through, no shim. When I bought my Gemini because I thought my big shot did not have enough pressure to cut dies like this. Obviously, that's not true. This cut every single bit. Not only that, but it worked my die. Now my die is bowed. It's not straight anymore. So I am blown away. I think this big shot machine is pretty cool. Should I tell you to go buy a Gemini? I don't know. If you don't want to crank, sure. But if you think your Gemini is going to have more pressure than the big shot, you might be surprised. So we saw that for the big shot, a clear plate, your paper, your die, clear plate on top, run it through the machine like the way it tells you to. This machine cut really, really well. But now what if I want to protect this plate, because that's all this video is about, okay? So there is a way to do that, but you'll have to take your platform, and this one has a set of tabs. When you need to emboss or do other things, you open it up and you go down to this platform. So if you look at it, this right here, I'm not sure if you can see it, but it's quite thick. So I'm going to open it up and I'm going to go down to just the first platform. See, I have 2 platforms here. They're not running through the machine. So let's say this is my brand new plate, which is not. I got my Olfa. I put it on. I got a new card. I get this die, who now is warped from my first cutting through the big shot, which tells me this machine does have a lot of power. Not power, but a lot of pressure. And then I put this on top. So let's run it through and see what happens. See if we can run it through. Not as hard to do as the first tab. So this is obviously less pressure, but let's see if it's enough pressure to cut through the die. So maybe just run it back. Very easy, much easier to roll than compared to the first tab. So did it cut? Look at that, it's perfect. It was not even hard to do, so it was very, very easy. Now if I remove the die, very careful. Look at that. It's a perfect cut. There's no machine that I could ask for a better cut than this. Now let's try the Spellbinders. So I have my cutting plate that I want to protect. I have my cutting mat that's going to protect my plate. I have a piece of cardstock. I have this beautiful die from Spellbinders. And I put this on top of this. Very easy, barely any, just one finger kind of rolling, super easy. I almost feel like it's not going to cut because it's too easy. There's no pressure, or at least you don't feel any pressure. So it cut all the way through. This machine is incredible. I really like it. I think this is really, really, really cool. Look at that. It's a beautiful cut. So the last one to try, this is my Tonic Studio die. Put it on. So again, the clear plate, the cutting mat to protect my clear plate, the paper, the die, this on top. Let's roll it through. Again, barely any pressure. It's very easy to roll. Super easy to roll. So let's see. Beautiful cut. Just goes right out. It's a beautiful cut. So in conclusion, there is a way that you can protect your mats, or even use the ones that are like really used, like mine is. As I said, this is my Sizzix plate that I use in both my Gemini and my Sizzix. And I can extend the life of it by buying just a little cutting mat like this one. And when this one goes bad, it cost me $4 to replace, as opposed to $15, $20, $30, which is much better for me. So for any die cutting machine, you have to find your sweet spot, the best pressure for your machine. Both my machines, the Gemini, they have achieved beautiful cutting, perfect cutting, and my Big Shot, you know, like beautiful cutting. I couldn't ask for better. I'm very happy with both machines. So if I would not, I was under the impression, if I would have not done this experiment to show you how this little mat works and how cool it is to use it, I would have always been under the impression that the Big Shot does not have enough pressure or power to cut an intricate die. So if you have a Big Shot and you think about it, well, I need to buy a Gemini because I was told that this does not have enough pressure, I say check before you buy. Would I buy a Gemini now that I know that? Probably, because I really like the machine. I think it's a really good buy. It's a good feel. I love using it. But if you cannot afford a Gemini, don't go thinking, I cannot do like intricate dies. Yes, you can. And even with the Big Shot, you can protect your cutting pads. So I hope this video helped in you deciding. As I said, you know, if you want to give this a try at your own risk. Don't go after me telling me that your machine broke because you watched my video. So thank you so much for your time. I hope this helped, and happy crafting.